Now, did you and Jimmy retaliate for these incidents of violence against you? Excuse me? Did you and Jimmy commit, and the other members of the inner circle, as you described it, commit any acts of retaliation for these incidents? Yes. First, we'll talk about that white van. Was there any retaliation against that white van? Yes. What do you know about that? I know that it was shot up when they were getting into the vehicle one time. When? When who was getting into the vehicle? I think it was Yael's brother and some of his friends. They were getting into the van and they were waiting for him to get into the van that was shot up. Who told you about that? Jimmy told me, but Khalil told me he did it. Khalil told you he did it? Yeah, but that could mean he did it or he had it done. Did you sometimes speak that way? Yeah, like work you're responsible for, stuff that you're responsible for. Did Jimmy tell you who did it? No. How did Jimmy describe it? He was along the lines like that it was telling me that it was confirmed that that was dude's brother's car, and I don't remember all of it. You can't remember the words he used? What was your reaction when you found out that the van had been shot? I was glad. Why were you glad? That I was glad. And part of me was like not feeling good that those dudes, that it was confirmed, had a line on me and knew so much about me and where to find me and get me. Were there any other acts of violence that you knew about committed against Tony Yayo or his family members? Yes. How do you know? I know of one right now. Jimmy told me. What did Jimmy tell you? About the time that Tony Yayo's mother's house was shot up? What did Jimmy tell you about that? That he waited for that bitch to walk in and he saw her carrying her baby and fired into the house. He saw, when you referred to that bitch, talking about his sister. Whose sister? Tony Yayo's sister. And that he waited for who to walk in the house? Her to walk in the house. He saw her carrying her baby, waiting for her to walk into the house, and he fired shots. Did he say what gun he used to fire shots? Yes, his .45. Were you present for that? No. Were you involved in that? No. Do you remember when that was? No, I mean between that period. I don't remember the day and the year. Was it after the slap? Yes. And when I say the slap, I mean the assault. Absolutely. Now, can we put up Government Exhibit 32 again? Who's that again? Baja. Did you commit or attempt to commit any acts of violence against Baja? Yes. How many acts or attempted acts do you remember? At least 3. And did you order any acts or intended acts to be committed? Yes. What time period did these acts occur? After the slap, so maybe around 07 to 09. Sometime in that same period we've been talking about? Yes. Can you first name the acts and then we'll describe each one of them? It was one act where I had a guy go to Baja's house and shoot it up. There was another act when I had a guy go to Baja's sister's house to shoot it up. There is another act where I, myself, and Dre went and shot the house and the bulletproof and attempted to set it on fire. And was there an act with Jimmy or an attempted act? There was an attempted act with Jimmy where Jimmy came and met me out there. Let's go through them one at a time. Do you remember the order of the incidents? Somewhat. Did some of them happen before your car was shot up? Yes. Which of the ones you remember happening before the first time your Escalade was shot up? The shooting of Baja's house. Which shooting? The first one. The one you did or the one you hired someone to do? That I hired someone to do. How did that begin? How did it come to be that you hired someone to shoot at Baja's house? I got some information from a barber that lived in the subdivision where he was at and said that Tony Yeo be at that house. Tony Yeo? Be at the house, but he doesn't live there. It's his man. Then we found out it was Baja, his road manager. Did you give that information to anybody? Yeah, I gave it to Jimmy. What did Jimmy say? I don't remember his words, but it ended up being for me to shoot the house and me getting paid for it. Whose idea was that? Jimmy's. Did Jimmy say why he wanted that to happen? No. What was your understanding? Objection calls for speculation. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Objection, it calls for speculation. The objection is sustained. Why do you believe you were doing it? You were arranging the shooting. Retaliation, and it strikes fair among people. What did you do? What steps did you take to arrange the shooting of Baja's house? Well, we spoke about it in that barbershop, my friend's barbershop, and he went and got a guy named Life, and he went, shot up the house, and I paid him for it. Did you speak to Life in advance? Yes, at the barbershop. Did you promise Life money or not? Yes. How much? I don't recall what I promised him. How much were you going to get paid? I think it was like 10 or 12,000. Who was going to pay you? Jimmy. So what happened? Did Life shoot the house? Yes, he did. How do you know? My friend that drove him saw and heard it, and I eventually read about it in the papers and stuff. Did you pay Life? Yes, I did. How much? 3 grand, 2 or 3 grand, something like that. Did you get money? Yes, I did. How much? About 10, 12, something like that. And who gave you the money? Jimmy. Now, what about the second attempt were there any other incidents with Life relating to Baja? Yes. What was the other incident with Life? Baja had a sister that lived in Brooklyn that we had information about, and I had asked Life to go out there and shoot up the house. He went with Jason. Jason picked him up. Jason? Williams. Jason came, picked him up, and drove him out there. I didn't want to go. Life, come to find out, never did shoot up the house, but he said he did. Did he ask for money? Yes, he did. Did you give him money? Yes. How much? I think I gave him about $1,500. Did you speak to Jimmy about that? Yes. What was that conversation? I told Jimmy it was done. He was like, nobody heard nothing. And I was kind of upset because I had gave dude some money about it. The dude some money about it already. And Jimmy didn't pay me for it. And we got into an argument about it in his car. And that was that. Did you ultimately find out whether the shooting had happened? I figured it out on my own. It didn't happen eventually. Did you do anything to Life as a result of that? We had a conversation and he ran, but I didn't do anything to him. Now, when you were giving Life instructions on what to do, did you give Life instructions on what to do with these shootings? What would you say to him? Probably something along the lines of shoot up the house. Did you tell him to watch out whether there were people in the house or not? No. Did it matter to you? No, probably better if, at that time the thinking was probably better if they were home. Did Jimmy ever tell you make sure there's no people in the house? No. Did he give you any specific instructions about that? No. Did there come a time when you went to Baja's house with Jimmy, I think you mentioned? Yes. And when was that? Is this the same time period? Do you remember more specifically? Same time period. Can you describe? Well, withdrawn. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 1001. Ask you if you recognize that. Yes. What's that a photograph of? That's the photograph of the houses and the subdivision Baja lived. And one of those Baja's house? Looks like it. The government offers Exhibit 1001. No objection. No objection. Admitted. Can we publish, please? Can we please? Withdrawn. Mr. Stewart, can you describe for the jury what happened? First of all, how did it come to be that you went to Baja's house with Jimmy? I'm not sure right now. How did you get there? I was always in that area. I met up with Jimmy somewhere around there and jumped in with him. Where is this? What part of? Staten Island, the Stapleton area. And what cars were you guys in? We was in a red Expedition that one of his friends owned, that one of his friends used to drive. Whose car? I think it was Little D's car. He was always in it. What was Little D's name again? Derek English. And so what happened once you're in the car? We start talking, and I don't know how it ended up being that I was supposed to be the one to do something to the house, but he took out a gun from the trap and gave it to me. Okay, let me stop you right there. Where was the trap? In the back seat, all the way in the back, the last row in the floor under the seat. How did he open the trap? Combination of buttons around the steering wheel and dashboard. Did you see which buttons he pressed? No. And what kind of gun did he take out of the trap? Big one with a silencer. How big? Can you show with your hands? Maybe about this big. Is that including the silencer or with the silencer on it? With the silencer on. What color was it? I think it was like a grayish, dark grayish, smoky color. Could you tell the caliber of the gun? I think that might have been his .45, I'm not sure. So what happened once Jimmy took the gun and the silencer out of the trap? He gave it to me and I left the car. Was there a discussion of what you were supposed to be doing? That I was going to shoot up the house. And again, was there any conversation about make sure you don't hit anyone or make sure you do hit anyone, or what was it? No discussion about hit someone or not. What was your plan? Shoot up the house. Did you care whether you hit anybody? I didn't think about it. When you said before it was better, it would have been better if there were people in the house. What did you mean by that? That send the message to them and they know what happened. Did you know you could potentially kill someone in the house by shooting in the house? Objection to the leading. Objection sustained. Withdrawn. What happened when you got out of the car? I went to start walking by Baja's house and I climbed around or went through a fence to the backyard, and I was waiting to see if I see him to try to hit him through a window, and I noticed him up in what looked like a kid's room, and I think I saw a little girl walk past, and the room was like pink or purple, and I saw Baja by the window, and I just changed my mind. So what did you do? I went back to the car. I stood there for a little while, thought about it, and went back. What happened when you went back? Jimmy was upset. What did he say? I didn't tell him why I didn't shoot. It didn't come up. I didn't want to tell him, but it was because, maybe not to. I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to see, maybe egos, or maybe I didn't want to tell him I didn't want to shoot because I saw Baja in his kids' room with the kids. But he was kind of upset and like I wasted his time. Don't waste his time with that. Don't have him come out here again. Stuff he was saying like that. So what happened? He left. And were you paid anything for that incident? No. Now, did you commit an act of violence against Baja after your Escalade was shot up? Yes. So about when would that have been? Between that same period, all seem the same. Sometime after the Escalade? Yes, months after. And can you describe for the jury what? First of all, whose idea was that? For the incident? Yes. That was my incident. That was my idea. And what was your idea? To get Baja. And why did you want to get Baja? Because he shot up my car. So describe for the jury what happened. One night I was driving through that side of town, heading home to Jersey, and I just said when we passed by Baja's house and I saw the bulletproof truck parked outside. What bulletproof truck? 50 cents, the one he gave him to ride around in, and I couldn't believe he was back on Staten Island like we were waiting for him for months. And so I called up my friend Andre Collier and told him bring my car. He had another car of mine that had a trap in it, and I always kept a gun in. And he brought the car, I parked my truck, and we waited. We're trying to wait for Baja to get out the house. We figured he'd come out before sunrise in the morning. Why were you trying to wait for him to come out of the house? Because I was going to shoot him. So what happened? And he didn't come out, and I was getting frustrated, and I knew the sun was going to come up soon, and Andre had an idea that we should smoke him out. And by that, he meant set the house on fire, and when he come running outside, then we would shoot him. And so we left and went to a gas station, got some gas. Andre made some Molotov cocktails. Did you know how to make a Molotov cocktail? I never made one before. What happened? We went back. Andre had one, I had one, and I don't remember exactly who threw it first, but he lit mine. I threw it at the bulletproof because I wanted them to take his truck away. When you say the bulletproof, what do you mean? The bulletproof truck. I wanted them to take his truck away so he could be vulnerable too. And I threw it at the bulletproof. I hit the glass, but it didn't shatter, and it fell on the floor. Then Andre picks up his Molotov cocktail to throw it at the house, and gasoline with fire falls on him, and he drops it. I just got mad and started shooting at the bulletproof and the house, the bulletproof truck and the house, and Andre started shooting at the house too. At that time, the plan wasn't going to work. Did anybody ever come out of the house? What did you guys do? Shot at the house and left. What gun did you use? I had a Glock. I think it's a Glock 19. So what happened to that gun? I used it in other crimes. And what eventually happened to that gun? It was given to the DEA. When? The night I was arrested. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 1115. Do you recognize this? Yes. What is that? That was my Glock. And did you use that gun in that incident we just talked about? Yes. And when did you give that to the DEA? The night I was arrested. The government offers Exhibit 1115. Objection? No objection. No objection. Admitted. Did you ever tell Jimmy about this incident? I'm not sure right now. Did you and Jimmy ever discuss killing Baja? Yes. What was the discussion? We had a couple discussions. Tell us what the discussions were. There was one time Jimmy called me and told me that Baja was looking for me, and there was a guy he met in a mosque that he knows that told him that Baja had $10,000 for information on me that can lead him to me. And, lucky that it came to Jimmy. Now he's trying to figure out how much it would cost to reverse it back on Baja, have them set Baja up. And there was another time when I knew some guys in Brooklyn that I was dealing with in the streets with drugs, and they knew Baja. They didn't like him, but they knew him, and they were cordial. And I would ask them if they could line Baja up for me, and they really didn't want to get involved. And I asked them how much it would take, and I offered them 25. And throughout the conversation, I was like, what, 50? Meaning $50,000. Let me stop right there. Had you previously talked with Jimmy about an amount of money? Yes. What was the nature of that discussion? He was like he had 25 for it. 25 for what? 25,000. To do what? For Baja to get clapped. What do you mean clapped? His head knocked off. I don't remember the exact terms, but basically to get hit. Well, objection to the leading. What do you mean? Head knocked off means what? To get your head knocked off means to get killed. And so what did you say when he said he'd offer 25,000? When I said to the guys in Brooklyn? What did you say to Jimmy? I didn't say anything. So then what did you do with that information? That's when I went to the guys that I knew in Brooklyn and offered them 25. The 25, and they were like, no, they're not going to get involved with it. You know, that I'm their friend, but they don't want to get involved. I said, what? What does it take? 50? Because then I said to myself, I'll put up the other 25,000. And they were like, no. And I was like, what would it take? And I was willing to give up everything to catch up with Baja. And I said to him, 75,000. And he was like, for 75,000, I'll blow Baja head off. So from there, I figured that me and Jimmy could split that. And I went to him and I told him, and he was like laughing, like, no, that's too much. And I was upset, like he the one ducking bullets and getting shot at, and a car riddled with bullets, like your kid was slapped. I'm in this beef for you, and you a millionaire, and it don't even matter. Did you say all that? Not all those words. What was Jimmy's response? We had a couple of debates about stuff like that. Another time I told Khalil that, I can't even call him for bullets. I can't even call him for bullets. Call who for bullets? Jimmy, like I don't have no guns, no ammo. I can't even get bullets from him. He was upset. He called me to the city one day, kind of cornered me. I felt he had his gun on him and he was going to do something, but I had one not too far away. Your Honor, I'm going to object to this open narrative. I'll move on. All right, so we have the answer and you're going to ask another question. Ask questions for about 5 or 10 more minutes. Okay. Now, Mr. Stewart, did anything ever come of that? Were you ever able to settle on an amount of money with the people you wanted to kill Baja? Yeah, they said 75 and we'll take Baja head off. Did you ever pay them that money? No. Did you ever pay them any money? No. And to your knowledge, is Baja still alive today? Yes. Miss Brady, can you put up Government Exhibit 18? Who is that? That's Chris Lighty. Were you ever involved in any act of violence or planned act of violence against him? Yes. What's the first one that you remember, or do you remember the order of acts? No, I don't remember an order. What general time period did they happen in? The same time period of the beef, 07, 09-ish. How many incidents do you remember? Maybe 2 or 3. What's one incident that you remember, and I'll ask you questions about it. I remember an incident where I was in a car with Jimmy and Jason, and it was in Jimmy's car. What area were you in? By the office, 6th Avenue. What car were you in? Jimmy's Lexus. What color was the Lexus? I don't remember. He had 2. I don't remember. It was the black one or the silver one. It was a gray and a black? Yeah. And where was everybody sitting in the Lexus? I think me and Jimmy was sitting in the back and Jason was driving. And what happened? We saw Chris Lighty and he was talking to his kid's mother or his wife and his daughter was there, or his kid was there. Was it on the street? Yeah, on the street on a corner of the building he lived in. I think he lived there. And was there any discussion in the car once you saw Chris Lighty on the street? Yeah, I just don't remember all the words, but it led to something about I was going to go to Chris Lighty and shoot him. Now, was there a weapon in the car? Yes. What weapon? A 22 with a silencer. Where was this 22 with a silencer? What do you mean where? It was in the car. Where in the car? Who had it? I don't remember who had it. I know there was a stash box in that car. I don't remember seeing it pulled out of the stash box, but it was given to me. Do you remember who gave it to you? No. Do you remember whether you had any instructions? Not right now. What happened? I think we circled around the park somewhere for me to get out. I got out, and when I got there, Chris Lighty was gone. What had you been intending to do? Excuse me? What had you been intending to do? To shoot Chris Lighty. Now, that 22 with a silencer, whose gun was that, if you know? It was Jimmy's. How do you know it was Jimmy's? He always had it. How many times had you seen it? A lot. I used to hold it. When did you first see it? I don't remember the first time, but I had it a lot, different occasions. What did it look like? It's a handgun, black, long nozzle on the end of it, a big 22, not a small one. How did the silencer fit on it? It was screwed onto it, to the edge, to the end, the nozzle. Did you ever use that 22 to commit any acts of violence? I don't think so. Did you ever have any conversations with Jimmy about the 22? I had gave it to Life to commit an act of violence with myself then. Which act of violence? To shoot at Baja's sister's house. The one that you previously testified about? Yes. But you don't believe it was used, right? No, I know he fired it, but I think it was just up in the air or something. Did Life give it back to you? Yes. And when you gave it to Life, who had you gotten it from? Jason. And did you ever have a conversation with Jimmy about that 22? Yes. What was the conversation? About me not liking that little gun, that small caliber gun. Why didn't you like it? Because I don't think it could really hurt anybody, and if you wanted to hurt somebody, and he explained to me that gun is effective for, and what did he say? That, you have to put two behind the ear, and, if you shoot somebody, the thing with that is that the bullets travel. They are so small that they travel throughout the body. And we were talking about something like, they cut arteries and all that kind of stuff, trying to get them, stuff like that. What was your response? I don't remember my response. Do you know how the silencer was obtained for that gun? Yes. When we get talking about this gun, we're going to be done for the day, Miss Heller. That's fine, Your Honor. I didn't hear your answer, though, Mr. Stewart. Yes. What did Jimmy say about how the silencer was? Objection to the leading. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer. I apologize. You had a conversation about the silencer? Yes. Who was the conversation with? With Jimmy. And what did Jimmy say about the silencer? I had asked him where you get them because I wanted some, and he was like he had a guy that made them, a military guy that he can't get in touch with. That he can or can't? He can't. So were you able to contact that person? No, I didn't know the person. Jimmy knew the person. He couldn't get in contact with the person. This is fine, Your Honor. Okay, in that case, let's quit for the day.